Hi everyone, let's now talk about weighted means. In some data sets, some values are more important than others, and we use weights to measure the relative importance of data values. So think about it. In a class, if you get an A on a midterm that's worth 10% of the class grade, and if you fail a final that's worth 90% of the class grade, does that mean that things balance out and you pass the class with a C? Not necessarily, because the final is worth a lot more than the midterm. I'd say you probably failed. All right. Now, as a student, you could argue that the most important number, the most important weighted mean in your life is your overall GPA. All right. For now, let's just look at the GPA for one term. Let's say you receive the following grade report for a term. What then would be your grade point average, your GPA for the term? Let's say that you took a math class, a chemistry class, and a biology class. Not that it matters statistically. That won't affect the computations here, but I just want things to refer to. Now, what will be important will be the weights here, which will be the numbers of units for these classes, and the grades that you got in these classes. So the key thing here is not so much that you took a math class, it's that that class was worth 5 units. That was the weight for that class. Your chemistry was weighted 4 units. Your biology class was weighted 3 units. And here you have the corresponding grades. It's not so much that you took a math class, it's that you took a 5-unit class. In a 5-unit class, you got an A-. In this 4-unit class, I don't care what subject it is, in this 4-unit class, you got a D. In any case, you should be ashamed of yourself. In this 3-unit class, you got a C+. I can tell right now you probably shouldn't be pre-med, don't operate on me, but let's figure out your GPA for the term. Now, we would expect that overall, your math grade, the grade for the 5-unit class, will have more of an impact on your GPA. But bear in mind, outliers could also matter. If you had gotten like an F in your biology class, whatever that means, then maybe that could have quite as well.
I'm not sure I understand.
No, you'll understand, Siri. Okay. All right. So how do we compute the GPA? Based on this table. By the way, the minus here and the plus here are referred to as grade modifiers. At Mesa, it was decided many years ago that students didn't want modifiers like minuses or pluses. I think in part because students were afraid that they would get more A- than A+. They wanted an A to be an A. Okay, now a problem you might have is, wait a minute, I see an A-, I see a D, I see a C+. I don't see numbers. How do we put these into a formula? I don't see numbers here. Right now, these represent what kind of data? Do you remember? We call this ordinal data, and we can recode them numerically. All right, the grades here are ordinal data values. They are non-numeric as they stand, but there is a natural order. So as a student, you would prefer an A+ to an A, you would prefer an A to an A-, you would prefer an A- to a B+, and so forth. Unless you want to tell your parents, I want to quit school and go somewhere. All right, I'm assuming you want a better grade. Now again, we're going to recode these grades numerically as sort of quantitative numeric data, although it's debatable whether or not these are fully quantitative. They will at least be numeric. Right. Now, the standard is that we say that an A is worth 4 grade points, a B is worth 3 grade points, a C is worth 2 grade points, a D is worth 1 grade point. Sometimes D's can matter. An F is worth 0 grade points. And in some settings, a D might even be passing. But normally, A's, B's, and C's will be considered passing. All right. Now, if we allow modifiers, often a plus modifier will raise the value of a grade by 0.3, although this isn't standard. Some institutions might use 1/3, but a 0.3 can be written as an exact decimal. The minus modifier typically lowers a grade value by 0.3. So for example, what would an A minus be? If you get an A minus in a class, how many grade points would that be? An A would be 4 grade points. How many grade points would an A minus be? Well, remember we got an A minus in math, or you got an A minus in math, okay? So an A is worth 4 grade points, but since you got an A minus, you subtract 0.3, 4 minus 0.3, that's 3.7. So an A minus would be worth 3.7 grade points. So a student might say, oh, I wish we didn't have modifiers. Then I think I would have gotten a straight A. That would have been 4 grade points. All right. So let's work out the GPA. What would be the corresponding grade recoded as grade points numerically? Although they might not be fully quantitative in the sense that although grade point wise, an A is twice a C, I mean, can you really say that an A is twice a C in principle? Maybe not in principle, but in terms of grade points, yeah, an A is twice a C in terms of grade points, assuming no weighting or anything like that. All right. Well, your A minus in your math class, that's 3.7 grade points. The D you got in the chemistry class, that was 1 grade point. Now, what about the C plus you got in the biology class? A C plus is how many grade points? Well, a C is normally 2 grade points. A C is normally 2 grade points, but because of the plus modifier, we're going to add a 0.3. So a C plus would be 2.3 grade points. So then this person might appreciate that modifier there. Okay, a C plus will be 2.3 grade points. Your math class was 5 units. Your chemistry class was 4 units. Your biology class was 3 units. Okay, so how many units did you take? The sum of the weights was 12. You took 12 units for the term, the semester, or quarter. All right, now folks, in order to compute your GPA, your grade point average for the term, do you take these 3 values, 3.7, 1.0, 2.3, do you add them up and divide by 3 to get your GPA? The answer is no, because then you'd be ignoring these weights. When would the answer be yes, though? When would that work? To take the sum and divide by 3. When would that work to get your GPA? If what were true with these numbers of units, if what were true of the weights. If these were all equal in weights. So if these were all 5-unit classes, for example, then these grade points would be equally weighted, and yes, you could actually add these 3 numbers up and divide by 3, because the 3 classes are equally weighted. However, here, the 3 classes are not equally weighted. That scheme will not necessarily work, and we would not expect that it would. So what do we do? What do we do? It's very similar to the president's example. Right? So imagine this. Because the math class is worth 5 units, okay, we're going to consider this. Because the math class is worth 5 units, imagine writing 3.7 on 5 slips of paper. Imagine writing 3.7 on 5 slips of paper. All right. Similarly, imagine, because the chemistry class was a 4-unit class where you scored a 1.0, all right, imagine writing a 1.0 corresponding to the D on 4 slips of paper. And then likewise, imagine writing the 2.3 here. Imagine writing the 2.3 here on 3 slips of paper. Okay, so we have a total of 12 slips of paper. we have these 12 slips of paper here, all right? And the number of times that a grade in numeric form is copied, that corresponds to the corresponding weight. The weight gives you the number of times, the number of copies of that corresponding numeric grade. So our weighted mean, or weighted average, will then be what we get when we take the numbers on these 12 slips of paper, add them up, and divide by, not by 3, but by 12. We have 12 numbers on 12 slips of paper. We get the weighted mean, or weighted average, by adding up the 12 numbers and dividing by 12. And that'll be the grand sum. But there's a fast way of doing it. Remember the president's ages. Instead of taking these 5 copies of 3.7 and adding them all up, why not just take 5 times 3.7? Repeated addition can be efficiently done as multiplication. 5 times 3.7. And those are your total grade points from your math class, where you got an A- for that 5-unit class. Likewise, 4 times 1, that's a total of 4 grade points in this scheme when we work out the grand sum for your chemistry class. For your biology class, 3 times 2.3, or 6.9, those are your total grade points from your biology class as we calculate the grand sum. So the grand sum here is obtained by doing a zigzag, the zigzag. All right. So here's the idea behind the zigzag. We've seen this before, and we'll see it again. It's this times this, plus this times this, plus this times this. There are various orders you can do it in, but bottom line, it's 5 times 3.7 plus 4 times 1.0 plus 3 times 2.3. It's the zigzag, like what we did with the presidents. And that'll give us the grand sum of the numbers on these 12 slips of paper. So the row sums for each class, all right, that's given by W times X. The weight, the number of units, times your grade as a number, 3.7 for an A-. Okay, so each of these row sums is given by this product, W times X, for class number 1, class number 2, and class number 3. The grand sum is given by summation, W times X. We're adding up all these class sums. Literally, these class sums. All right. So when we do that, when we do the zigzag, this times this, plus this times this, plus this times this, we get a grand sum of 29.4 grade points. That's not an estimate. That's the actual grand sum where you apply this scheme. But now we take this grand sum of 29.4 grade points, and what do we divide by? We don't divide by 3, we divide by 12. We had 12 numbers here on 12 slips of paper. All right, so your GPA, your weighted mean, is obtained by taking the grand sum, all those numbers on all those slips of paper. We divide by the sum of all the weights. That's the total number of units you took for the semester, 12 units, right? So the grand sum is from the zigzag. Summation, W times X. This times this, plus this times this, plus this times this. Summation W is the number of units you took. You took 12 units during the term, during the semester or quarter. So you divide 29.4 by 12 and you get, this is exact, 2.45 grade points. Although, because these were written out to 1 decimal place here, you would round this off to 2 decimal places anyway. 2.45 grade points. Which, by the way, in terms of letters and maybe modifiers, what would that be? Would that be like an A- or what? What would that be? Well, a 2.45, that's a bit higher than a C. We're talking about like a C plus maybe, right? A C plus to a B minus. Is that good enough for medical school in the United States? Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe in Fredonia, but not in the United States. That's probably not good enough for med school in the United States. It might be good enough to pass and get your diploma if that's all you care about, but probably not good enough for med school. Then again, you probably could have told that just from looking at the grade record here. All right, maybe it's time to change majors. Don't tell your parents I said that. Okay, next up, what is the most common question I get from students? And then you'll be able to answer that question for yourself. Maybe Canvas can too. Next time.